The clouds have gathered and it's starting to spit. Someone should be worried, because that storm is coming. This is Beanham Valley Road.
Beanham Valley Road.
Locally produced true crime podcast, Beanham Valley Road.
Jamie Pultz created Beanham Valley Road, a true crime podcast about the death of Woolvi mother Kira McLaughlin, which sparked a coronial inquest.
Beanham Valley Road. In November 2019, the Sunshine Coast-based podcast reached number 5 on Apple Podcast charts, an accomplishment which ex-police officer Jamie Pultz described as a dream come true. In that same month, Jamie aired the final episode and put the show to sleep. However, he hasn't joined Beanham Valley Road in its slumber, and instead has been working hard to produce 2 new podcasts. I invited Jamie to have a chat about the projects and what he hopes to accomplish from them. The interview starts with a question relating to his upcoming and unreleased show, Cop That. You have a new podcast set to come out this year called Cop That.
Yep.
For people who haven't heard about it, what can they expect to hear from the new show?
Yeah, this is something that's I'm really passionate about. It's called Cop That because it's about ex-police telling their stories. I think police get a bad run in the media, and I think they get hated on by the public. Cop That is a chance for police to tell their stories, good and bad, and have their legacy shared and remembered, and have a laugh too. I do basic interviews, but my theme is something heroic, something horrific, and something hilarious. And I ask them from, for their career. The hilarious stuff has all been really funny, like crazy funny, and then the horrific's obviously horrific, and the heroic has been anything from de-escalating a situation where someone had a grenade and they'd put the pin back in and talk them out of doing that, all the way to an old lady bringing some food across a flooded plain, just awesome stuff. So that should be released probably mid-year, maybe August.
Why is it important for people to hear the heroic and horrific things that police have been exposed to?
Because, I know that not everybody does, but the public have an assumption that they just go to work and do whatever they want and eat donuts and give tickets to people. But reality is they do a very tough job, and they go to every brutal situation, and all they do is go to jobs where people's lives have been turned upside down. Like when you call the police, it's because you can't handle the situation anymore. Like it's bad. And that's what the police do all day, every day. And I think we need to remember that. And I think there's power in suffering sometimes. Like if a cop tells their story of a heroic event that they were involved in or they did themselves, and that's one that we can all appreciate that they did that. And plus it might help a young person who's deciding to become a police officer or not, give them an insight into the career. And it also might help change some opinions that the public might have, like someone who's got a few tickets for not wearing a seatbelt might hate the police, but when they actually hear what they do on a daily basis, they might think, oh, maybe I should pay a bit more respect. And they're just humans, and we need them.
Next, I asked Jamie about his current podcast, Who Killed Leanne Holland?
Hello and welcome to the first chapter of Who Killed Leanne Holland. My name is Graham Crowley. Why a podcast on this particular murder, which has been the subject of so much media attention? Because this case is far from finished. If you grew up in Queensland in the 1990s, you'll probably know who Leanne Holland is. For those who don't, she was a 12-year-old girl from Goodna, Queensland, who in 1991 was viciously murdered. Graham Stafford, partner of Leanne's sister, was convicted of the murder, only to have his conviction quashed after 15 years imprisonment. Graham Crowley is the co-host of the podcast and was originally hired by Stafford's parents to privately investigate the murder. He believes the evidence he uncovered suggests that Stafford is innocent. In Who Killed Leanne Holland, Jamie and Graham take an in-depth look at one of the most controversial and contested cases in Australian criminal history. What was so compelling about this case, which it had to be, the follow-up to Beanham Valley Road?
That's a good question. I think for me, Beanham Valley Road was very different. I felt that, one person was definitely responsible for it, but it was never proven, for many different reasons. But this Leanne Holland one, it's just so complex. You hear the prosecution case that was against Graham Stafford and you think, wow, that's pretty solid. He was good for it, did his time. But then What Graham Crowley says is, well, when you actually start testing the evidence and, you don't just take it as it's said, like say, for example, the tyre impressions that were at the scene, they were said to have matched Graham Stafford's car at the body dump site where Leanne Holland was dumped. And you think, oh, wow, okay, well, that's signed, sealed, delivered. He did it. But Graham Crowley actually took the tyre impressions and went to a professional, like a Bridgestone general manager who made the tyres and said, do you think they match? And they said, no, I don't think they match. And Graham Crowley found 50 problems in the case, 50 problems. So that's why I thought, well, Graham Stafford's been to jail for 15 years for something he didn't do, or he's very smart and cunning. So either way, we've got to get to the bottom of it.
What is the end goal of the podcast?
Well, the beauty of a podcast is that you have flexibility with it. It's not like a set thing. It's not like writing a book or doing a film where you're governed by certain things. We can basically do whatever we want with it and just go with the flow. And the end goal for us would be to answer the question, who killed Leanne Holland? You got some people saying Graham Stafford did it, but his conviction was quashed in 2009. So theoretically, we should be saying that he's innocent. There's a few other suspects that Graham Crowley's named that are better for it, he thinks anyway. So I guess the end goal would be that. But like I said, with a podcast, we can do 20 episodes, 30 episodes, 10. Like there's so much flexibility with it. If we get inundated with info, we can look into it. Or if we get nothing, we can stop it. So yeah, the end goal would be to answer the question.
If you want to find out if Jamie answers the question, which has spanned 3 decades, Who Killed Leanne Holland is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. New episodes of Who Killed Leanne Holland usually come out every week. A big thanks to Jamie for taking time out of his busy schedule to come and talk with me, and a big thanks to everybody else that listened all the way through. I hope you enjoyed.